John Locke, 1632–1704, used to be an English logician, instrumental in founding cutting-edge philosophical empiricism and political liberalism. Locke developed the thinking of character rights and the social contract. The thought authorities was once primarily based on rights and duties. Locke used to be an influential parent in the Enlightenment and the American Revolution. Early life. John Locke was once born August 29, 1632 in Rington, Somerset, England. He was once added up in Pensford, close to Bristol. In 1642, when Locke used to be 10 years old, the English civil struggle broke out. His father served as a captain for the parliamentarians beneath Oliver Cromwell. After the Civil War ended in 1646, Locke, aged 14, was once dispatched to Westminster School in London. He used to be an capable scholar and used to be elected a King's Scholar for his tutorial advantage, a shape of scholarship. However, he did no longer especially experience his time at school. He later wrote a pamphlet, Some Thoughts Concerning Education, 1693, criticizing the emphasis of public faculties on corporal punishment and a dry, narrow, tutorial outlook. Locke felt schooling must promote greater than e-book learning, however top morals and the improvement of reason. Virtue is more difficult to be received than expertise of the world, and, if misplaced in a younger man, is seldom recovered. J. Locke, Some Thoughts Concerning Education, 1693. John Locke to age 20, Locke went to Christ Church, Oxford University. Again he observed the medieval syllabus, with emphasis on traditional texts, insipid and uninspiring. Locke was once no longer impressed with the scholastic lifestyle which noticed classical figures, such as Aristotle, held up unquestioningly as the supply of all knowledge. However, in his spare time, Locke did pursue his very own studying, preferring the new herbal sciences of chemistry, medication and physics. He additionally studied the works of contemporary philosophers, such as René Descartes. Away from the dry scholastic tradition, the 17th century saw a blossoming of scientific inquiry. Locke was once capable to come to be acquainted with some of the main figures of the day. People such as Christopher Wren, architecture, Robert Hooke, physics, Robert Boyle, chemistry, herbal philosophy, theology, medicine. Locke took training in remedy and collaborated as the junior companion with Robert Boyle on his groundbreaking look-up on human blood. Locke got a bachelor's diploma in 1656, and would later reap a Bachelor of Medication in 1675. After the demise of Cromwell and restoration of the English monarchy in 1660, Locke noticed fast social change. The puritanical strictness of the Cromwell years rapidly grew to become on its head. Many of his scientific pals moved again to London to shape the Royal Society. Locke stayed in Oxford, the place he used to be appointed a Fellow at Christ Church. In 1666 Locke met Lord Anthony Ashley Cooper, Earl of Shaftesbury. The two turned out to be shut buddies sharing a comparable political outlook. Ashley was once an influential Whig, the political opposition celebration supportive of parliamentary democracy, civil liberty and spiritual tolerance. Also Ashley, like Locke, supported a Protestant succession and used to be suspicious of Catholic influence. Locke used to be employed as Ashley's health practitioner and, as proof of his actual scientific ability, helped carry out and prepare a modern operation to region a silver tube into Ashley's liver. Royal Society. In 1688, Locke was once invited to be part of the Royal Society. He undertook look-up with Thomas Sydenham, one of the nation's main physicians. Locke additionally pursued his philosophical interests, speaking with pals and writing articles. Empiricism. To love fact for truth's sake is the predominant section of human perfection in this world, and the seed plot of all different virtues. John Locke, Letter to Anthony Collins, October 29, 1703. There used to be a vital overlap between his clinical look-up and philosophical views. Locke developed philosophical structures which emphasized reason, perception and empirical evidence. This stood in distinction to former thoughts of innate knowledge which should be traced lower back to philosophers, such as Plato. To Locke, the truth seeker ought to take nothing for granted, however use his God-given purpose to recognize the world. Whatever I write, as quickly as I find out it now not to be true, my hand shall be the forwardest to throw it into the fire. This grew to become recognized as philosophical empiricism and was once very influential for the European Enlightenment, which noticed many historical thoughts and assumptions swept apart as human beings re-examined the world they lived in. An Essay Concerning Human Understanding, 1689, is an essential clarification of his empirical understanding, which describes the idea as a clean slate to be stuffed with understanding and experience. In this groundbreaking philosophical work, he expounds many essential themes. He rejects innate ideas. He discusses the interplay between important characteristics of our bodies and secondary qualities. For example, how the thought can supply magnitude to water molecules by viewing it with the energy to cleanse thought and body. How private identification comes from consciousness. Exile. Locke's shut-pal and political ally Ashley was once appointed Lord Chancellor in 1672, however Ashley quickly fell out with King Charles II and used to be imprisoned for a year in the Tower of London. Under hazard of arrest himself, Locke went overseas to France. Living in Paris and Montpellier, Locke grew to be conscious of the stark inequality in French society. He referred to in his journals the stark distinction between the poverty of the peasants and extravagant luxurious of Louis XIV. English. Locke again to England in 1679, however it used to be a turbulent time with a political schism over the succession to Charles II. Locke and Shaftesbury supported the exclusion of the Roman Catholic James. This opposition to the king intended Locke, worn out of being watched with the aid of authorities' spies, fled once more to Holland in 1683. In Holland, he grew to be pleasant with like-minded dissenters. He met the remarkable rationalist philosopher, Baruch Spinoza. Political Philosophy, 2 Treatises of Government, 1689. The kingdom of nature has a regulation of nature to govern it, which obliges each one, and reason, which is that law, teaches all mankind, who will however seek advice from it, that being all equal and independent, no one ought to damage some other in his life, health, liberty, or possessions. Second Treatise of Government, ch. 2, second 6. John Locke. It was once in opposition to this backdrop that Locke wrote his most important political philosophy, 2 Treatises of Government, 1689. Locke's political philosophy firmly rejected the historical thinking of the divine right of kings. Locke noticed no convincing motive to justify the absolute rule of a king, who should without difficulty turn out to be a tyrant. It is well worth noting that Charles I's insistence on his divine proper to be absolute monarch was once an important issue in the English Civil War. Locke helped to completely cease this notion. Locke additionally rejected papal infallibility, which made him adverse to an English Catholic king. His second treatise used to be worried with how political strength need to be manifested. Locke sought to emphasize that strength have to be exercised with ethical consideration for the public good. Right of making laws with penalties of death, and therefore all much less penalties, for the regulating and preserving of property, and of using the pressure of the community, in the execution of such laws and in defense of the Commonwealth from foreign injury, and all this solely for the public good. Locke's social contract promoted the thinking that all human beings had a herbal set of rights and duties. To Locke, a person had a proper to his very own physique and person. Each individual additionally has a proper to the fruits of his labor, though Locke additionally supported an egalitarian distribution of surplus wealth. From this beginning point, the civil authorities required consent from these who it dominated to put into effect the law. Government and the legislative physique had the proper to put in force simply laws, however now not abuse the herbal legal guidelines of person rights. Finally, Locke supported the proper of society to eliminate terrible governments, by means of pressure if sincerely necessary. Although these thoughts appear common in the 21st century, it used to be radical for the 17th century. It helped formulate early thoughts of democracy and the fallibility of rulers. It emphasized the rights of and character towards the tyranny of monarchs and can be considered as an early proponent of classical liberalism. The thoughts of Locke can certainly be viewed in the English Glorious Revolution, and even extra so in the American Constitution and U.S. Declaration of Independence, 1776. Along with Francis publisher First Baron Verulam and Isaac Newton, Thomas Jefferson recognized John Locke as the three biggest guys that have ever lived, except any exception, letter 1789. Locke's thoughts can additionally be viewed in the French Revolution and the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, 1789. Religion. Locke was once a member of the Church of England and a Protestant Christian. He typically supported spiritual tolerance, writing letters concerning toleration, 1689–92, in the aftermath of European struggle over religion. Nobody, therefore, in fine, neither single humans nor churches, nay, nor even commonwealths, have any simply title to invade the civil rights and worldly items of every different upon pretense of religion. In The Reasonableness of Christianity, 1695, he mentioned the essence of Christianity was once to see Jesus as the Messiah and searching for to comply with his teachings. However, Locke additionally emphasized the significance of permitting Christians sizable freedom in following this intention in accordance to their very own conscience. In justifying his views, he noticed the motivating pressure of Christianity to be trust and love, and no longer civil legislation. If the gospel and the apostles might also be credited, no man can be a Christian besides charity and barring that belief which works, now not through force, however by means of love. A letter concerning toleration, 1689. Last year's. Locke back to England in February 1689, with the Princess of Orange, who would be topped Queen Mary II of England, part of the Glorious Revolution for the peaceable transition again to a Protestant king and supremacy of parliamentary democracy. Locke helped to draft the English Bill of Rights, 1689, which restrained the royal prerogative power, stressing elections ought to be free and truthful and legislated for a confined non-secular tolerance, to all Protestant faiths. It did no longer go as some distance as Locke wished involving spiritual tolerance, however it used to be influential in the root of the English political system. In later years, Locke suffered from sick fitness and retired to High Laver in Essex, the place he persisted to write and entertain friends, such as Sir Isaac Newton. Legacy. Locke is viewed a founding parent of the European Enlightenment, in phrases of each political and